If you touch a hot stove, your brain screams at you in like a fraction of a second.
Right. It's instant.
Yeah, you get this immediate searing surge of pain that just forces you to pull your hand away before you even consciously process what happened. It's a brilliant, highly evolved, and honestly incredibly loud alarm system.
It's an instant biological feedback loop. I mean, for the vast majority of human history, pain has equaled a problem, and a total lack of pain has equaled safety.
Exactly.
So it is a deeply ingrained survival mechanism.
But right now, at the very back of your skull,
Yeah.
a massive bone-crushing biological shift could be happening, and your brain is just dead silent.
Completely silent.
The fire alarm is completely unplugged. So today we're doing a deep dive into materials provided by a clinic called My Gentle Dentist Arana Hills. We are going to decode the completely silent, hidden clues your body might be giving you right now about your dental health.
It's so important to talk about this.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because we are dismantling the most dangerous myth out there. The idea that if your wisdom teeth aren't causing you, agonizing pain, they must be perfectly fine. Okay, let's unpack this. Why is that assumption so dangerous?
Well, relying on pain as your only diagnostic tool for dental health is a critical mistake. I mean, in a modern environment where we are constantly overwhelmed with health information, we naturally look for shortcuts.
Oh, for sure.
And nothing hurts is like the ultimate shortcut.
Right. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly. But when we look at the specific biology of the jaw, the absence of pain is often just a false sense of security. It's masking severe progressive structural damage.
So to understand why these teeth operate in total stealth mode, we have to look at the architectural setup of the human skull. Like, why are wisdom teeth inherently problematic? Because our sources point out that this all stems from this bizarre evolutionary mismatch.
Yeah, they are the ultimate late bloomers. Your other adult teeth are well established by your early teens, but your wisdom teeth, your third molars, they don't even attempt to descend into the jaw until you are somewhere between, say, 17 and 25 years old.
But by the time you're 18 or 20, your skeletal structure is practically finished growing.
Right. Yes, exactly.
The jaw you have is the jaw you are going to keep. And the materials highlight that the modern human jaw is simply too small to accommodate these 4 late arrivals.
It is. Evolution has left us with a severe space deficit. As human brains grew larger over millions of years, the brain case expanded.
Which is great for us, obviously.
Right, great for thinking, but it physically forced the architecture of the jaw to become smaller and narrower to compensate. But while our jaws shrank, the genetic blueprint for our teeth, it did not.
Oh, wow. So the software hasn't updated to match the hardware.
That's a great way to put it. We are still genetically programmed to produce 32 teeth, but we only really have the square footage for 28. So when those final 4 wisdom teeth try to erupt, they hit a solid wall of bone and neighboring teeth. They become trapped, or what dentists call impacted.
Wait, if a tooth is literally stuck in the jawbone and actively growing where it shouldn't, how on earth is it possible that our pain receptors just sleep through the whole thing? I mean, we feel a tiny popcorn kernel stuck in our teeth instantly, but we don't feel a tooth crushing our jawbone.
I know, it sounds crazy. And this raises an important question about how we define being healthy versus simply being asymptomatic.
Right.
It comes down to the difference between an acute nerve response and chronic bone remodeling. When you get a standard toothache, it's usually because a cavity has burned through the enamel.
And hit the nerve.
Yes, it exposes the highly sensitive inner nerve of the tooth to outside air, sugar, or temperature changes. That triggers an immediate, sharp pain.
Because the nerve is literally exposed to the elements.
Precisely. But an impacted wisdom tooth is entirely encased in tissue and bone. It isn't exposed to hot coffee or cold air. And the pressure it exerts as it tries to grow is incredibly slow. We are talking fractions of a millimeter over months or even years.
So just creeping along.
Very slowly. And your body adapts to this slow motion pressure. The jawbone actually undergoes a process where special cells, called osteoclasts, they slowly dissolve the bone in front of the moving tooth to make way for it.
Dissolve the bone.
Yeah, to literally clear a path. And because it's so gradual, the acute nociceptors, your pain alarms, they never reach the threshold required to fire.
So it's basically a stealth demolition project happening right inside your face.
That's exactly what it is.
And your body's just quietly accommodating the destruction. Well, since we can't wait for the pain alarm to go off, we have to look for the secondary signs, the structural smoke, so to speak. Let's look at what happens when a wisdom tooth only makes it like halfway out of the bone.
Yeah, this brings us to the first major silent symptom, which occurs when a tooth is partially impacted. The tooth manages to break through the jawbone, but it only peeks slightly through the surface of the gums. It doesn't create a clean seal around the base like your other teeth do.
Here's where it gets really interesting,
Yeah.
because the sources describe how it creates this tiny, almost invisible flap of gum tissue resting partially over the crown of the tooth.
Yes.
It's like having a permanent fold in a kitchen rug,
Yeah.
right in the exact spot where you prep your food. Crumbs and debris are constantly going to get kicked under that fold.
And just like that heavy rug, you are physically unable to lift this gum flap to sweep the debris out.
You just can't get under there.
No, you can't. The clinical term for this flap of tissue is an operculum. Every time you eat, microscopic food particles and oral bacteria are forced underneath this flap.
Man, so if you have a permanent, unreachable fold in the gum-trapping bacteria, brushing isn't going to fix that at all. Is that why some people have chronic bad breath they literally cannot mouthwash away?
Exactly, because when food and bacteria are trapped in a dark, warm, oxygen-deprived pocket like that, anaerobic bacteria just thrive.
Hmm.
It is. These specific bacteria break down the trapped food and release volatile sulfur compounds.
Sulfur, which smells terrible.
Right. That is what causes the chronic bad breath, or even a persistent metallic strange taste in the back of your mouth. It leads to a low-grade, constant infection known as pericoronitis.
It must be maddening for someone dealing with this.
Well-
I mean, they're probably buying expensive mouthwashes, changing their toothpaste, chewing gum constantly.
Thinking they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, trying to solve what they think is an oral hygiene issue.
It perfectly illustrates the futility of treating a structural problem with a chemical solution. Mouthwash only treats the surface. It physically cannot penetrate deep underneath that soft tissue flap to flush out the decaying matter.
You cannot rinse away a physical trap.
No, until the structural geometry of that hidden tooth is corrected, the bacterial trap remains and the symptom is just going to persist.
Wow. But pericoronitis is just what happens to the gum tissue on the surface.
Yeah,
Because the jaw is entirely out of room, the physics of that trapped tooth have to go somewhere else.
they do.
And often, that pressure travels up into the skull, creating symptoms that don't even feel like they're coming from your mouth.
What's fascinating here is how the anatomy overlaps. We need to look closely at the anatomical positioning of the maxillary third molars, the upper wisdom teeth.
Okay, the ones on top.
Right. The roots of these upper teeth sit incredibly high in the facial structure. In fact, they sit directly beneath the floor of the maxillary sinus.
And when we say beneath, we aren't talking about inches of space here.
No, not at all. We are talking about microscopic distances. The bone separating the roots of your upper teeth from the delicate membrane of your sinus cavity can sometimes be as thin as a piece of paper.
So think of it like the floorboards between two noisy apartments.
Okay, yeah.
The problem, the impacted wisdom tooth, is entirely contained on the first floor, but because it has nowhere to go, it's pushing upward, putting pressure on that paper-thin ceiling. And the second floor, your sinus cavity, is taking all the vibration and pressure.
That is exactly how referred pressure works. As the trapped tooth pushes upward, it physically compresses that bone and the sinus floor.
Wow.
And the brain interprets this compression and the resulting inflammation as chronic sinus tension.
That's wild. If I have sinus pressure, I'm reaching for allergy meds, not calling a dentist.
Yeah,
How many people are treating the wrong half of their face?
so many. It's an incredibly common misdiagnosis, even among patients who are really trying to be proactive about their health.
I guess.
And that misplaced pressure isn't just isolated to the sinuses either. If we look at the lower jaw, the mechanical crowding forces the temporomandibular joint, the TMJ, and the surrounding muscles to compensate.
Resulting in what the sources describe as unexplained jaw stiffness, like when it feels tight or restrictive, just trying to open your mouth all the way to take a bite of an apple.
Yes, exactly. The masseter muscle, which is the primary muscle you use to chew, starts to instinctively guard itself.
Guard itself, like it's bracing for impact.
Pretty much. It tenses up because the structural foundation of the jaw is crowded and inflamed. And again, it's not a shark pain. It's a subtle, chronic stiffness.
Which you'd probably just ignore.
Oh, absolutely. You might easily write it off as having slept in a strange position or assume you're just grinding your teeth because of work stress.
Oh, yeah. I've just had a long week.
Right. But in reality, it's the physical displacement caused by hidden teeth fighting for space they simply do not have.
Okay, so we've tracked this from frustrating bad breath to deceptive sinus pressure and stiff jaw muscles. But we have to move into the territory of, like, Severe collateral damage.
Yes, the serious stuff.
What happens when this hidden slow motion pressure actively starts destroying the perfectly healthy biology sitting right next to it?
Well, this is where the lack of pain becomes truly dangerous. When an impacted wisdom tooth realizes it cannot grow straight up, it doesn't just stop developing.
It just keeps going.
It takes the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Very often, it will turn and grow at a horizontal angle.
It's essentially growing completely sideways, parallel to the jawbone.
Correct. And as it pushes horizontally, it rams directly into the roots and the crown of the tooth immediately adjacent to it.
Which is the second molar.
Yes.
And the second molar is a crucial functional tooth. We rely on it to chew our food every single day. So what does this all mean? You could be doing everything right. You could be flossing meticulously, avoiding sugars, visiting the hygienist, and meanwhile, this hidden wisdom tooth is acting like a physical wedge, taking out its perfectly healthy neighbor like a domino.
It's tragic, honestly. It creates a catastrophic, uncleanable food trap between the two teeth, deep below the gum line.
Where you can't even floss.
Right, you can't reach it. The constant pressure physically damages the enamel of the healthy molar, and the trapped bacteria aggressively decay the root.
Man,
And by the time a patient actually feels pain from this, the decay is usually so extensive that the healthy second molar cannot be saved.
that is heartbreaking.
You end up losing a critical functional tooth entirely because a useless evolutionary leftover was ignored.
The body is essentially committing friendly fire.
Very much so.
And the destruction doesn't just stop at the neighboring teeth either. The materials from my gentle dentist Arana Hills outline a biological worst-case scenario that happens deep inside the bone, the formation of cysts.
Right, the cysts. To understand how a cyst forms, you have to understand how teeth develop in the first place.
Okay.
Every tooth in your jaw grows inside a tiny protective developmental sac called a dental follicle.
Like a little cocoon.
Yeah, exactly. Once a normal tooth erupts through the gums, that sac naturally disintegrates. Its job is done.
But if the tooth is completely trapped inside the jawbone, that sac has nowhere to go. It just stays buried.
Exactly. The sac remains intact around the crown of the impacted tooth. And over time, the epithelial cells lining that sac can malfunction.
Oh,
Due to osmotic pressure, the sac begins to draw in fluid from the surrounding tissues. It slowly expands like a water balloon trapped inside solid bone.
whoa.
This is known as a dentigerous cyst.
A water balloon expanding inside solid bone. But, I mean, the bone has to give way, right? It can't just contain that pressure indefinitely.
It does give way. The fluid pressure inside the cyst stimulates those bone-dissolving cells we mentioned earlier, the osteoclasts.
Oh, right.
In order to relieve the pressure, your body literally dissolves its own jawbone from the inside out to make room for the expanding cyst.
So the body is actively hollowing out its own structural foundation. That is terrifying.
It really can be. It can severely compromise the structural integrity of the mandible. A large cyst can displace nerve canals, destroy the roots of multiple surrounding teeth.
It's wiping out everything in its path.
Exactly, and it can leave the jawbone so fragile that it is susceptible to fracturing from everyday forces, like simply chewing hard foods.
You could break your jaw eating an almond.
Yes, in severe cases. And because it is a slow, fluid-driven expansion, it can happen with absolutely zero pain.
Okay, we've covered stealth demolition, bone-dissolving cysts, and teeth taking each other out. It sounds like a literal horror story.
Does sound grim.
It does. But the source material pivots here, and it's a massive relief. Because the philosophy at my gentle dentist Arana Hills is all about eliminating the anxiety of the unknown. We don't have to wait for our jawbones to hollow out or our healthy teeth to rot before we take action. We have the technology to map this out perfectly.
We do. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the fear of dental work is almost always rooted in a lack of visibility.
Sure, we can't see what's happening.
We fear what is happening beneath the surface. But modern diagnostic imaging completely removes that blind spot. The gold standard solution here is a specific type of panoramic imaging called an OPG.
Which stands for orthopanomogram.
Right.
Why is an OPG so vastly superior to, the standard little x-rays they put inside your mouth during a regular checkup? The ones that usually make you gag.
Well, those standard biting x-rays are excellent for detecting surface-level cavities, but they only capture the crowns of the teeth and the immediate supporting bone. They do not show the deep architecture of the jaw. An OPG is a specialized machine that rotates entirely around your head. In just a few seconds, it produces a complete, flattened, 3D-like map of your entire lower facial structure.
So it's giving you the entire blueprint.
It reveals everything. It shows the exact angle of the impacted wisdom teeth. It shows if a cyst is beginning to form.
Wow.
Most importantly, it traces the exact pathway of the inferior alveolar nerve, the major nerve running through your lower jaw, and shows exactly how close the roots of the wisdom teeth are to that nerve.
So you are mapping the exact coordinates before any extraction even takes place.
Exactly.
You aren't guessing. You get the scan. The clinical team looks at the blueprint and they can tell you definitively your teeth are completely fine. They have room, or these are growing sideways and are going to destroy your molars in 3 years. We need to evict them now.
It is the pinnacle of proactive healthcare. Gathering this highly accurate data shifts the patient from being anxious and passive to being entirely in control.
Which is such a better place to be.
Absolutely. You are inspecting the foundation of the house before the silent roommate has a chance to trash it.
And if the blueprint shows that those teeth do need to come out, the sources make it clear that the extraction process is not the medieval ordeal people build it up to be in their heads.
Not at all.
When done proactively, the clinic equates the recovery to catching up on your favorite shows and eating ice cream for a weekend. I mean, Netflix and ice cream, sign me up.
Right. But that ease of recovery is directly tied to being proactive.
Yeah.
If you extract a wisdom tooth early, say in your late teens or early 20s, the roots of the tooth are often only 2/3 formed.
Okay.
They haven't anchored deeply into the bone yet, and the surrounding jawbone is still relatively soft and pliable. The extraction is mechanically straightforward.
But if you wait until you are like 40 and you only go to the dentist because a cyst has formed or a neighboring tooth is rotting,
Then the roots are fully formed and often hooked or curved. The jawbone has become incredibly dense.
because it's an adult bone.
Exactly. And you are no longer just extracting a tooth. You are performing surgery to clean out a cyst or extract multiple decayed teeth. The trauma to the tissue is exponentially higher.
That makes so much sense.
Proactive extraction is what guarantees that smooth, uncomplicated recovery.
Which is exactly why the source provides such a strong demographic reminder. If you are in your late teens, your 20s, or older, and you have never had an OPG scan to check on your wisdom teeth, if you've just been relying on the fact that your mouth doesn't currently hurt, you need to change your strategy.
Please do.
You can easily reach out to clinics like My Gentle Dentist, Arana Hills, and book a consultation. Get the panoramic scan. Get the blueprint.
It requires perhaps 20 minutes of your time, and it secures the structural health of your jaw for the rest of your life.
It's a no-brainer. Let's pull all of this together. We started by uncovering the evolutionary mismatch that left us with modern jaws simply too small to fit our genetically programmed teeth. We explored how the agonizingly slow pressure of these trapped teeth bypasses our acute pain alarms entirely.
We examine the physical consequences, too. The gum flaps, causing unreachable pericoronitis and bad breath.
The microscopic proximity to the sinus floor masquerading as respiratory issues.
The muscle guarding leading to jaw stiffness.
And the hidden devastation. The sideways wedges destroying vital second molars, and the fluid-filled cysts manipulating our own bone-dissolving cells to hollow out the jaw, all of which can be intercepted and mapped perfectly with a quick OPG scan, allowing for a proactive, completely controlled extraction. The takeaway for you is simple. Do not let the absence of a fire alarm convince you that the house isn't on fire.
That is a perfect summary. And, as we conclude this analysis, there is a broader, fascinating implication to consider about our physical development.
Oh.
We know that evolution left us with a space deficit, but we are also artificially accelerating this problem right now.
Wait, really? How?
The modern human diet is incredibly soft. From childhood, we consume processed, cooked, tender foods that require a fraction of the mechanical chewing force our ancestors used.
Well, yeah. We aren't tearing into tough roots or raw meats anymore.
Exactly. Bone growth responds directly to mechanical stress. Without that heavy, repetitive chewing force during our developmental years, our maxilla and mandible don't receive the physical signals required to grow to their maximum potential size.
Wow.
We are systematically underdeveloping our own facial structures through our modern environment.
Because we're eating mush.
Basically, yes. Which makes you wonder, as our diets become progressively softer and more processed, are we creating a future where the human jaw becomes so small that impaction isn't just common, but structurally catastrophic for every single generation moving forward?
That is wild. We are physically shaping the bone structure of our faces through our grocery shopping, creating a self-inflicted architectural crisis for our teeth. That is absolutely going to change how I look at every bite of food, and it's a perfect reason to make sure we know exactly what is going on beneath the surface of our own jaws right now. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Don't wait for the pain. Go get your blueprint mapped, secure your health, and we will see you next time.